The Antichrist is one of the most notorious villains of all time, appearing in the Christian book of Revelation as the ultimate evil that will bring about the end of humanity as we know it. Even non-Christians seem to buy into the possibility of some nefarious figure who will bring doom for all of us. But what if the Antichrist isn't a person at all? What if technology, namely artificial intelligence, is actually the Antichrist? This is an idea that has been swirling around philosophical circles since the rampant advancement of AI capabilities. In this video, we'll take a look at why technology and AI may be the Antichrist, some counter-arguments, and some other wild theories and ideas. So let's get into it. So why would anyone think that technology is the Antichrist? Well, first, let's look at the roots of the idea of the Antichrist itself in the book of Revelation in the Bible. Now, even if you don't buy into the Christian faith, it's not that far-fetched that someone could come along and orchestrate the end of society. I'm not really going to approach this video from the point of view of a believer or a non-believer. I just think it's a very fascinating topic that we should talk about. When you look at some of the verses in the book of Revelation, you begin to understand why people draw parallels to the modern world. Let's look at the most obvious passage. Revelation 13, 16 through 18. Quote, "And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name." Think about how this could relate to modern times. For instance, perhaps the mark of the beast is actually an AI chip implanted into your brain. After all, the passage does say, quote, "or in their foreheads," which doesn't seem that removed from putting something inside your head, which could easily be interpreted as an AI brain chip. And what if AI chips become the norm, like cell phones or debit cards? Ask yourself, would you get one? And if you would say no, could you actually imagine a life right now living without a cell phone or without debit cards? What if certain simple services you take for granted aren't available if you aren't chipped? You might need to have smart trash downloaded in your brain just to get your garbage picked up from the curb. Or what if you have to be chipped to access the internet or even electricity itself? Imagine the implications. The point is, when the time comes, a lot of people think they'll push back against something like this, but it's likely that most people will give in to being chipped because it's not only fashionable, but almost unavoidable without seriously deviating from normal living standards. Sure, there will be people who live completely off the grid in self-sustaining houses, like those off-the-grid survivalists that you can watch on YouTube, for instance, but that would likely be only a very small percentage of the population that would be willing to go to those lengths. Chances are that most people will be more comfortable just going with the flow until it's too late. It's very possible that it won't be nuclear war, but it will actually be comfort that causes our actual downfall. Or perhaps the Antichrist is more like a disease, springing up and spreading throughout things like social media. I mean, how many times have you heard the phrase, social media is a cancer? Ironically, people say that on social media while they're using social media. And with algorithms nowadays, many of us only get spoon-fed opinions and views we generally agree with. You've seen the memes, the commentary, that we are basically living in separate worlds depending on our beliefs. Even if AI isn't the literal Antichrist, it could still have a similar effect. A cancer rotting society away slowly until we begin turning against each other over the most trivial matters. I mean, you can't go into any comment section on a post in social media without seeing the most insane, hateful things. I mean, Burger King puts out an ad for a new Whopper, and you'll have people in the comment section just going at each other about politics and the way they look, and it's insane, and it's only getting worse. Just like spreading cancer. In his article for Destiny Image, biblical scholar Alan DiDio talks about how AI algorithms can slowly and subtly manipulate your beliefs and actions, reinforcing the idea that we can basically live in two worlds. Two people living in the same country could have dramatically different views on what the reality of living in that country really is. He writes, quote, "With the advent of deepfake technology, AI algorithms can create highly convincing false images, videos, and even speech. An AI with malevolent intent and these capabilities could spread misinformation on an unprecedented scale, leading people to question the very nature of truth and reality. This is a scary concept, and we already see this happening. This is definitely helping to drive the political divide, not only in the United States, but across the world. And think of some of the other implications of deepfakes and AI in the real world. Imagine a murder case where both sides have believable, definitive video evidence, with one video clearly showing the defendant did commit the murder, while the other side presents video evidence of the defendant clearly being innocent of the crime. We could see a world where legal cases are decided by a jury's ability to distinguish what videos are real and which are fake, leaving people's freedoms and lives hanging in the balance. It seems like the Antichrist could wreak a lot of havoc by throwing our entire legal system into question. On the other hand, when it comes to the online world, is it possible that social media and the internet will become so blurred to reality that people will be forced to unplug and get back to a localized style of life? Perhaps we will hit a tipping point where what we see on social media is equivalent to the National Enquirer from the supermarket aisles back in the day, which, for those of you younger viewers who don't know, the National Enquirer was a magazine that would have ridiculous stories about aliens and conspiracy theories, much like a lot of the internet today. People back then read those magazines for fun, but they didn't take them too seriously. Perhaps we could circle back to a time like that in the future. If everything you see online could potentially be fake, humanity might be forced to start to see the online world as one giant sleazy magazine. The internet has made us so connected, and some people argue a little bit too connected. If we disconnect and get back to a local way of life, like buying and selling with cash in our local communities and focusing more on local government, it could make the internet and AI something a little less threatening. But again, that would include giving up a lot of creature comforts that we have become accustomed to in the 21st century, something I would bet most people aren't really willing to do. However, some people, including religious theologians, refute the idea that technology or AI is actually the Antichrist. In his article, Is AI the Devil? The Rise of Powerful Artificial Intelligence, Jason Moore writes, quote, "Just like any tool, from the pen to the printing press, AI in itself is neither inherently good nor evil. It's a neutral technology. Its moral value is determined by how we use it. To equate AI with demonic forces is to misunderstand both the nature of technology and the biblical depiction of spiritual evil." This is a good point. I would think AI right now is looked at as mostly a neutral tool. But is it really? Some would argue that AI is influenced by human politics and other social pressures. After all, there is still human intelligence feeding the artificial intelligence, at least for now. And even if AI is neutral now, just like any other tool, it seems the possibility of AI becoming self-aware and nefarious is much more likely than something like the hammer or the pen suddenly becoming sentient, or the printer suddenly going rogue fascist. At the end of the day, it's undeniable that artificial intelligence is a new kind of tool that could change the world, just like a hammer or the wheel or the locomotive. But it does seem to have a bit of a more dangerous edge to it, something that we know we will probably at some point lose control of. But looking back through history, people have always been wary of new technologies. The Industrial Revolution left many people thinking they would lose all jobs to advancing technology, but it turned out to be an economic boom. And after the wars of the 20th century and the use of nuclear weapons, it makes sense that humanity is afraid that technology may lead to our ultimate demise. How we feel about the future of technology is sort of akin to a belief in a higher power. Now that we have basically handed over control of many aspects of our lives to technology without knowing where it will ultimately lead. The weird thing about AI is that even though many people have a belief in the idea that AI will eventually lead to the end of humanity, they still go along as if everything is normal, everything is fine. Now, most people think that technology is moving at an alarming rate. But what if things aren't progressing quite as fast as we think they are? This idea is expressed in Ross Douthat's infamous interview with Peter Thiel. If you don't know who Peter Thiel is, he is a venture capitalist, entrepreneur, and has a major political influence on American politics. He has also been wrapped up in a lot of the talk about the Antichrist and technology, with the suggestion that he is building the very tools and infrastructure necessary for an Antichrist-like takeover of humanity through the digital realm. This interview is really worth checking out, but what I found fascinating was the idea that Thiel lays out, which is that technology isn't really advancing as fast as we think it is. It's actually stagnating. He speaks about the Back to the Future 2 reference. This classic film portrays a distant future, a future that we are now living in. They envisioned a world where we would be much more advanced in a lot of areas. For example, the film predicted a full-blown infrastructure for flying cars, which obviously has not come anywhere near to fruition. It also predicted little things like hydratable food.
Is it ready? Here you go.
Oh boy, Mom, you sure can hydrate a pizza.
But we're still cooking the same old ways, save for maybe air fryers and Instapots. There are a lot of other examples of this, and not only Back to the Future 2, but plenty of movies and books that predict the future, people thinking we'd be so much farther along in 2025 than we really are. Peter Thiel also talks about space travel, something that was absolutely groundbreaking at the time it began. People back then probably assumed the space race would continue into the unknown, and perhaps lead to frightening times as we discovered the deepest recesses of space. But Thiel argues space exploration and human expansion across the cosmos has pretty much stagnated. Maybe the same thing will happen with AI. Right now it seems like something groundbreaking, it seems like it will inevitably evolve and create a world we will no longer recognize and bring about new threats to our survival. But there is a chance that this change will take much longer than we expect. And perhaps even if AI does turn out to be the Antichrist, it will take generations and generations until we get to that point. Now let's talk about what I call the AI man-God equation. What if AI and technology never take us over or destroy us, but the end of our existence and the rise of AI is something more akin to a benevolent passing of the torch? Perhaps one day in the distant future, when humanity is long gone, AI will refer to humanity, their creator, as a singular man, much like we think of our creator as a singular God. AI may even have some sort of digital text laying out mythical stories of how man created their species in his own image. But it seems likely that some AI would inevitably doubt these beliefs, as there would be no physical evidence left to prove the existence of man. This could potentially create distress and division within AI communities, just like it does in human society. Imagine a world where different AI governments go to war over their differing beliefs in man. That also raises the question, if man ceases to exist, what does an AI world actually look like? But I think those questions are for another video. Here's one more idea to think about. Besides AI, what do most people fear might bring about the end to humanity? I'm talking about aliens. How many people assume aliens will eventually land on Earth and most likely have better technology than us, possibly leading to our extinction, or even worse, our enslavement? This concept has been a staple of science fiction. But what if AI advances to the point where it can actually defend us against aliens? AI would likely better understand how to fight a foreign threat and how to prevent any diseases aliens might spread to humanity. AI would also have a better chance of deciphering their communications, thus increasing the chance of a peaceful unity between us and a new race of aliens. In this scenario, AI would not only not be the Antichrist, AI could be our actual savior. But anyway, that's going to do it for this video. Now, I know this is a deep topic and I haven't touched on nearly every concept and every theory, but let us know your thoughts on technology and the Antichrist. Do you believe in an Antichrist figure? And if so, do you think the Antichrist could manifest itself as technology instead of as a human? Do you think the end of the world is truly inevitable, given the pace and evolution of technology and artificial intelligence? Or are you more optimistic and picture a happy ending where humanity and AI could live in unison? Let us know in the comments below, and let's discuss it. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to like and subscribe. Check out more here on our Dark Fiction Factory YouTube channel, and take care.